All right. The Clb Jsph return video reaction part two. Not a reaction, but just thoughts. Because, as I said, he's fascinating to me. And so part two, or at least as I divvied it up as part two, was very much him kind of getting stuff off his chest from when he left BookTube. There was an old one, which was there's this some kind of convention thing for very high up young booktubers, kind of a convention that they get together. And I think he was talking about, like, oh God, if I went to it, I'd be so nervous, I would go psycho. I just wouldn't be able to take pictures. I would feel really self-conscious about myself. Kind of just like a whole kind of a rant that way, which apparently got under people's skin. He has a manner that, as he admits, gets under people's skin. But they apparently, whatever, a certain segment of those people did bitch about him on Twitter and various other places about that. So there's still kind of overweening grudges about that. I think I've only heard about it from his side. I think there's been various things about, to me as an old asshole, sounds very kind of slightly young kids kind of doing all their obsessing over what seems like really minor kind of social cliques and feeling left out and the cool kids and all that stuff. Not to say that there aren't cool kids later on in life, but you just don't have the energy or time to actually care as much about shit like that. Other than, I guess, if you're a professional booktuber and it's all about connections and stuff. So there's that. And then he did a video making fun of a lot of movies, a lot of YA novels that were all about kids with cancer, and how he was making fun of it. Basically, it sounds like the point was that they were romanticizing illness to kind of get their kicks off of, to like, oh, isn't it so sad? Kind of that sort of stuff. And he claims that he got a lot of support from this, from people who were either had cancer or were, family members of people who had cancer. But he also got responses otherwise, saying he was being ableist and that he used words like crazy and idiot and stuff like that, and was being ableist and insensitive. And he says, like, well, I don't think that the point that I was trying to get, I don't apologize for, but maybe my tone wasn't the best. Maybe my jokes didn't come across good because I wasn't, I was hurrying with the video and I could have taken more time and more care to get it, but I was busy trying to get back to school. So there's that. So he just you could definitely tell there was, like, talking about getting gaslit from an early age on BookTube, of people, telling him this is what he was doing when he really feels he wasn't doing it. Just a lot of this kind of social paranoia, feeling that he was always resented for his success, that he never got kind of reached out by other creators on BookTube, because they were jealous of his success. I mean, maybe they're off-put by his particular manner. I don't know. A bit of a loose cannon, you get the sense. But, it's all that kind of, it's paranoia. And I've definitely felt paranoia in a way that's so incredibly small and interior to myself. I am too small that anyone would even notice who I am, much less give much breath to actually thinking about me at all. So I'm extremely fortunate that I'm not in the position of Clb, where there actually are people out there who seem to spend a lot of time hating upon him or coming up with attacks on him. Probably because he's just big enough that them making a video on him would bring them clicks. You know, it kind of monetizes itself when you get that big, to have people oppose you, and to have, you know, all the little Twitter things and all that stuff, which thankfully I do not. Not on Twitter, not on Facebook, not on whatever actual things that people actually use. So yeah, it was again another little education into a psychology, and a psychology which, it's interesting that even in my microscopic presence on BookTube, I can sympathize with, or I can see that, like, oh, if I was that big, my microscopic things might blow up into the full-blown psychoses of some of these poor bigger channels. So again, useful for me of just going like, okay, this is getting to see myself but blown up to magnificent proportions, and how that might look to someone from the outside, because this is how Caleb looks to me from the outside. I have no idea what's going on actually inside this kid's head. But yeah. So again, useful and worth me just sort of sitting and chatting about it and recognizing myself, the differences and the similarities within this kid. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Caleb. More videos later.